Great. So we got disconnected, but we're back. Let's run the app at this point and see if we're able to get our print statement. I click on some article, it loads, I click on the image, and we have image was tapped. Everybody has image was tapped showing up? Very good. So at this point, we know we could communicate with the image. So next step is to present our Zoom image view. Yes? Okay, so let's go ahead and do so. I'm back in the DTAP function. I remove the print statement. And now we need to get an instance of the Zoom image view controller from storyboard. What storyboard, I ask? What's the storyboard here? Zoom image is the storyboard name. So here, let's get the storyboard. We'll call it Zoom storyboard or Zoom image storyboard. And we instantiate it with storyboard. And the name, what name do we pass in here? What's the name of our storyboard? Zoom image, yes? Let's double check here. If we go to our project navigator and we see our storyboard file name, everybody, we have Zoom image, correct? I want to access my .storyboard file. I use the prefix, right? Zoom image, right? Very good. So here we have Zoom image. Let me clear that up. That's going to get a little messy here. Okay, now we need to get to the Zoom image controller. So we'll start off by saying Zoom image view controller equal to our Zoom image storyboard dot instantiate. What I'm looking for here is instantiate view controller identifier with coder. Do we see that?
Wait, did you call the US storyboard Zoom image or?
It's called Zoom image. Double check your .storyboard file.
Okay,
Yeah. Do we have access to instantiate view controller identifier with NS coder? Okay, this is the one we're using.
There's a couple of
Okay, so for the identifier, here we pass in the identifier of the view controller like we did before. Okay, so we pass in the identifier of the view controller. It's called Zoom image view controller. And then the creator, again, this is all new in iOS 13 here. The creator will autocomplete that by pressing enter. We'll remove that line of code here, and we'll simply put coder. Close Xcode and reopen it. Okay, so here, this is the syntax to get the instance of the storyboard file with some identifier, and here we need that coder object. Why do we need that coder object? We need that coder object to reconstruct our initializer. Remember, our initializer takes in how many parameters on the Zoom image? 2. It takes a what?
An image
and a coder, right? So here we need that coder. We have access to that coder now. So
What has the name Zoom image, not the storyboard?
the storyboard. We created 2 files. We created a view controller called Zoom image view controller, and we created a storyboard file called Zoom image. Zoom image is the first line on 61. The second one is the view controller. Yes. Very good. So here we return in, so return Zoom image view controller. Return Zoom image view controller. Let's get an image here on 60. Image is, what are we in? We're in news, detail view, .news, .image. Okay, we have an image on line 60. We got it from the actual image view. The image view has a what? An image. Our image view container has an image. The image property is set already. Do we agree? So we get that image from our image view. It's an optional, so we use nil coalescing. It must have an image at this point. If for any reason it doesn't have an image, it has a default image. We could give it a system name, yes we can. But now we have an image because our initializer needs an image. Do we agree? Okay. Now let's go create that initializer. And here we see we have access to now. This is beautiful, right? This is iOS 13. I have a storyboard. I could use dependency injection on my storyboard now, right? I could have multiple initializers taking different arguments. It's beautiful, right? There was no way to do that before iOS 13. So now we could go down to our coder with image here, passing our coder object, which we have on line, well not line, but right here we have our coder object. And it needs an image, so we give it an image. Where do we get that image? We get that image from line 60. Line 60, the news image view has an image. We capture that image. Once you get used to it, it's great.
Oh, and then we'll say navigation.
Yes. And in that case, we're not going to push, we'll present. Exactly. So last step here, as Tiffany is saying, we'll present. We'll present our view controller called zoom image, VC. Okay? And again, our view controller is fully encapsulated. The image is private. I actually think we have one more thing to do. Did we see in our view did load, did we set the image view property? In our view did load on our zoom image view, did we say image view dot image equal to image? So we need to do that, and then we will run the app. Anybody still type in our did_tap function? We need to go back to the zoom image view controller, view did load, because we haven't set image view dot image equal to image, right?
You said you wanted to present this
Modally.
So this will present modally?
Yes.
The way it's set up?
Yes. We good? Can I navigate over to, so let's go finish off our view did load. I'm going back to the view, the zoom image view controller, and we are missing this line of code, image view dot image equal to image. If you attempt to do this image view in here, what happens? If you take this line of code and you put it in our initializer, what happens? It still works, right? Before running the code. Does it work? In my initializer, is my outlets ready? No. It's going to crash the app, right? So if you do our line 29 in our initializer, it will crash the app because the initializers, or the outlets are not ready until our view loaded. Okay? So be careful here. All right, so at this point, let's run the app. So image view. So it presents, right? Yes, it presents our image view. And let's use option here and zoom, right? Right, can we zoom? Great. So at this point, we were able to present our zoom image view controller using dependency injection. So basically, you could take that same view controller and storyboard and put it in any project, right? It doesn't rely on this particular project to work. All it needs is an image. Everybody with me? Any questions? Everybody with me? Right, so all what our zoom image needs is an image, right? It has a scroll view already, it has an image view already, it has all those properties. right? There's other things you could set on your initializer. Like maybe you want to change the zoom level, right? Maybe you want to change the aspect fit. You would do that on the initializer. Everybody with me? You could create a different initializer that takes in those values. So it becomes great, a great tool that you could reuse in your projects. Any questions about, let's just review what we did, the heart of what we did today, dependency injection on storyboards. We started off by creating this initializer here. It needs to have a coder because we saw we needed that coder in the instantiation setup, right? So we have a coder here. The coder is the object that archives our view controller scene. You see the scene here? When you close Xcode, it needs to archive our view controller, right? So it takes the coder is the one doing that. If it's a storyboard file, the storyboard file needs a coder in order to archive our scene to XML and take our XML and put it back into our storyboard. Everybody with me? Very similar to JSON decoder, right? The coder is the one doing that. It takes our scene, archives to XML, XML back to our scene. So this is storyboard here. We need that coder, and any property that you need injected, you set that up. You call your super init, you set your properties, make your properties private. This is full encapsulation here. We don't need any default values because we have an initializer. We need that required init as well. Next, we go back to our article detail view controller. And the heart of this, again, is the storyboard that we have the scene from. We get the storyboard with the name that we created. We use instantiate view controller, the ID of the view controller that we're trying to get to. There's no typecasting there, as you see. There's no typecasting needed. Because what are we returning? We return in a zoom image view controller. Everybody with me? So there's no as question mark there. There's no guard let anything there. I'm getting exactly what I want because this is what I'm returning here. I'm not returning a generic view controller. I'm returning a zoom image view controller, right? So as you're using storyboards, make your objects encapsulated, use this syntax to get your instance back. And it's great. It's lovely. Any questions?
I'm getting an error that says you can't find the storyboard.
I will come and see at your console what's going on there. But as far as like the context of what we did today, any questions about, so we saw two dependency injections. We saw programmatic, well, the only two ways really. Either you do it in code or you do it in storyboards. Everybody? Yes? Very good. So we'll stop here.